Hello, I'm Scott Bulkey here with Sean Kennard ahead of his Fury Challenger Series 13 fight against, I hope I get this pronunciation right, I think it's Shahriar Zolfaghari. How are you doing today?
Good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. And how are you feeling ahead of your upcoming fight on coming up to about a month out?
And I feel good. We're about 2.5 weeks out. I
Yeah.
feel good. So, I'm healthy. I'm strong right now. So I feel really good about it.
And how do you feel like he's going to come into this fight? Do you feel like he's going to want to keep it on the feet or take the fight to the ground?
I don't know. I think he is mostly a kickboxer,
Yeah.
at least from what I can kind of gather. It's kind of hard, to get information on some of these guys. But he looks like he likes to strike. I also like to strike.
Yeah.
So, um, I think definitely we'll probably look for a finish on the feet. Of course, if we need to, then we have a ground game that we can work in to the mix as well. But I'd like to stand and strike with this guy. It's fun. I have more fun whenever we're both standing up and striking with each other. It's just a more exciting fight. It's more exciting for me. It's more exciting for the crowd, I think. But I do have several finishes by submission. So
Yeah.
if we needed to, we could go that route. But I do plan to stand and strike with him.
Exactly. You do have a leaf over your naked choke.
Yeah.
Do you? How is the Fury for you? Because obviously, speaking to a lot of fighters, they do have a really good relationship with Eric Garcia. How's your relationship there?
Yeah, honestly, Eric, man, Eric is phenomenal. Fury Fighting is phenomenal. Rich Burmaster, um, Wayne Leggett. I mean, all those guys, Mike Alexander. They have a really good crew over there, and they really care about the fight game.
Yeah,
They really care about the fighters that go to work for them, fighters that are actually there to put on a good show and work hard. And so you can feel that honestly when you fight for a promotion that acts like that towards you as a fighter, you can tell. And I love fighting for Fury, man. Honestly, I, I'll fight for Fury until I retire if that's the case. I really enjoy fighting for Fury. Um, it's just easy. Eric understands the fight game. He was a fighter. They've been in the game for a long time. They built this promotion from the ground up, and man, I have zero bad things to say about Fury, and that's not just because I'm signed to them. I
yeah.
legitimately they do a really good job of just running a good show, taking care of the fighters, doing whatever they can to really just put on a really good show.
Exactly. And if you are wanting to fight, they will get you that fight because you have Lester, who's on your card. He lost just last month. He's back in that card. You have Mika, who was meant to fight on the fight last month. His fight didn't happen. He's back on this card. You were meant to fight in January. That
Yeah.
unfortunately didn't happen, and you're back on this card. If you are wanting to fight, they will give you that opponent.
They will. They will. I mean, and I'll tell you this, like in January, when I was supposed to fight, we found out last minute that my opponent said he
Yeah,
wasn't going to. On weigh-in day, Eric was still trying to get me an opponent on weigh-in day. There was another fighter whose opponent busted weight. Eric tried to match us up on weigh-in day. So I mean, he does everything he can to really, really honor the commitment you made to finish a camp and make it to fight day. And yeah, man, he'll get you a fight. If, like I said, if you're somebody who shows up, if you're somebody who's willing to put the work in and give no BS, then Fury Fighting is going to be honestly, I think Fury is the best. I think Fury can stand by its on its own as a great show, but for somebody who's trying to be in the fight game and eventually make it to the UFC, Fury is absolutely the best platform for that. The best show for that.
and I was speaking the other day about this. I think this weekend, the featherweight title between Lopez and Volkanovski, I think if Lopez is able to get that victory, I think that's the first athlete who's came from Fury to win the UFC title.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is correct. Yeah.
How big would that be for the organization?
Man, I think it'd be huge. I mean, I do think that Fury has already established himself
Yeah, being
as a
the
great
number
show,
one.
right? Absolutely. But I mean, they're signing guys to the UFC all the time,
Yeah.
regularly. Um, but to have somebody come from Fury, climb all the way up to the top, I mean, that's just another feather in the cap, just establishing the great show that they're running.
And it also shows how good being able to stay active, stay in fight shape is. Because he's done that, I think it's like 732 days, I think it is. Maybe 730 days since he joined the UFC to get that title shot. So it does show you if you are willing to put in that work and stay active, the reward is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like, you fight for Fury or even some of these other organizations, you can fight pretty often. But you definitely take when you if you go to the UFC, you have a lot more time between your fights. And yeah, you have to stay in shape. I mean, you have to stay always fight ready, especially for guys like in the UFC because they never know when the call's going to come.
Well, especially going back to Lopez, Dan Ige, he got the call on the day and he there showed up. He didn't get a
Yeah.
win, but he put on a hell of a performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got to stay ready.
And what had it been since your last fight back in November? What have you improved on the most?
Man, that's a good question. I think, I love my striking, but I think I'm always trying to improve my striking. Same as my grappling, but um, I've spent a lot of work, with my coach, Matt Wald, who's our striking coach, just really, really perfecting some things, improving some things. So, um, again, I openly think that I'm equally as dangerous on the feet as I am on the ground.
Yeah.
But like you've already highlighted, I've finished more guys on the ground than I have on the feet. So um, I think that if I'm analyzing myself, I'm always looking to um, figure out, okay, how can I finish these guys on the feet? Is there some micro adjustments I can make to get finishes, while we're standing? And a lot of times what happens is we strike and then distance gets closed, right, and then the grappling game
Yeah.
starts, and then that's usually where I take over. I've had fights that stay striking fights, the whole
Yeah.
time. So it just kind of depends, but um, I love striking so much. I'm always trying to improve myself as a kickboxer.
And you have really settled this as your home. How much easier was it being able to make that transition from an amateur fighter to the pro ranks, being able to do that under Fury as well?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, if you show up for Eric and you put in the work, and you have the time under your belt and the record under your belt, then it's a pretty smooth transition. You talk, of course, with your team, your managers, your
Yeah.
coaches, and talk with Eric. And like I said, as long as you're putting in the work, and as long as you're showing up on fight day ready to go, and you're showing that you have a skill set, then he's gonna help you achieve your goals no matter what they are. Eric is there. I mean, he said this to me personally, man. I'm here to help you achieve your goals no matter what your goals are, and I truly believe that. I really do.
And what belt is that on the just behind you?
Oh, that's the amateur title belt, the Fury title.
Yeah,
The
I
Yeah,
was I was thinking that.
yeah. So this is the amateur belt for Fury FC for middleweight division. So this was the fight I went pro off of. After I won the belt, I went
Yeah.
pro. Yeah.
And how good was it being able to get that victory against Jonathan?
Say again.
How good was it being able to get that victory against Jonathan and get
Oh,
that title around your waist?
yeah. I mean, it was great. Honestly, my fight journey has been interesting. Um, I started my first fight was back in 2013, and then between my career as a police officer and some injuries, I ended up having to step away from the sport for a while, and man, I missed it so much, and I didn't want my career as a police officer to cost me my
Yeah.
goals as a fighter, right? So I hate the victim mentality, and so I didn't want to be like, oh man, I couldn't fight because of this, or I couldn't fight because of that. And so I made the decision to come back and start training and fighting again. And of course, that's been since 2021 since I've been active again. So it was. I never thought, honestly, that I would capture a title, amateur. I never thought I would go pro, honestly. Yeah, it meant a lot to me. And Galvan's a tough guy, tough opponent. Was showing himself as a real tough guy during that time that we fought, and it was a fun fight. That was one of those that we mostly stayed on the feet for all 5 rounds. Yeah.
And are you still a police officer just now?
No, no. So I do some reserve work as a police officer, but I work for an organization called Mighty Oaks. We serve the military and police officer, first responder community. We're a Christian organization. We help guys just deal with PTSD and just the stress of the job and just overcome, the stress of a life of service. So we have ranches all around the nation that we send guys to is completely free for any military, active duty veteran, or first responder. So it's a phenomenal organization, and they're really doing some great work. I'm honored to be able to work with them.
Exactly. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. And how was it being able to do also you were part of that police force, like you were saying. How was that for trying to help you stay fit and active for your fights? I know you said you did have that bit of problems at the start.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difficulty in managing a career like that and trying to have a fight career.
Yeah,
But I was a SWAT officer, so as far as the mentality goes of just being, a warrior, right? Somebody who goes into battle. I had that mentality as a police officer, and I think that mentality definitely continued to grow and build the longer I was a cop. I was a cop for 12 years, so on the SWAT team for most of that time. Um, and so people a lot of times are always like, man, you're so calm in the cage. You're just, you don't really show emotion on your face. You're just calm. And I think honestly, a lot of that has to do with my time on the force, my
yeah,
time doing call outs and stuff. You have to be calm. You have to be cool headed in these life or death scenarios, or else you're going to cost yourself or somebody else's life. So I think that has definitely helped me as a fighter. Just kind of be in that calm, cool headed mindset. Different fighters do it different ways. Some guys love to ride the emotional roller coaster and use the anger to kind of, get an edge in the fight. Me, I like to stay super neutral and calm and just analyze the fight tactically, use strategy to enforce my game plan. I try to keep emotion out of it, and police work definitely helped like create that mindset.
exactly. And do you try to like get part of that mind to try and get that game plan? I know some fighters kind of like leave that to the coaches. Do you like to be part of that?
To be honest, I do kind of leave that to my coaches. Now I'm definitely part of the game plan, right? But
Yeah,
uh, we kind of come up with a game plan, and then I let them. Alex Morono's, my head coach, UFC veteran. Matt Wald is, a diamond in the rough striking coach. He doesn't get the exposure that a lot of guys get. He is a phenomenal striking coach. So I lean on their experience a lot. Definitely, I have a role to play in the strategy, right? Um, but I see my job as executing the strategy. They kind of help develop it. I agree to it, and then my job is the execution of that strategy.
and it's kind of like with the SWAT thing, you kind of create that plan of action and then you go in and execute it.
Exactly. So like when we have a SWAT call out, right? We have an ops plan that we create, and we sit down before the op, and then we have the strategy. We go over what the strategy is, and then we go out and deploy it and execute it. So it's very similar. We have a game plan, we come up with an ops plan, a strategy, and we sit down and we say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We build, the fight camp around that, and then we go out and execute that strategy.
And once you get the victory in this fight, how are you going to celebrate it?
Man, I mean, I just love fighting, man. Honestly, I feel blessed to get the opportunity to step in the cage, and um, I feel like God has put me in this position, and so, man, I'm just honored. I'm just there to fight, have fun, grow as a fighter, grow as a man.
Yeah,
The fighting game has challenged me in a way like nothing can. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better father. Um, it's made me a better man in general. So, man, I just celebrate the fight game in general. And of course, after the victory, I'm just going to give thanks to all my supporters, my wife. Man, my wife is absolutely such an integral part of my success. My coaches, Alex Morono, Matt Wald, training partners, Ricky Tercios, Jake Heffernan, and all the guys at the gym. And then, of course, I mean, the true ultimate fighter to me, God who gives me the ability to go out and be a dangerous man. I'm so thankful just for the opportunity, honestly. And then, of course, Fury for giving me the opportunity, creating a platform that really gives guys the opportunity to go out and chase their dreams.
exactly. And how active are you wanting to be this year?
Man, I want to stay active. I fought in November. I was going to fight in January. The goal was to
Yeah,
fight in November, January, and then in April, which I'm fighting now.
yeah,
So I've had a couple guys cancel bouts on me. So, um, you know, that's part of the game. That's just how it is. So I plan to stay active. I plan to fight every few months. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to get, fight now in April, and definitely for sure one more before the end of the year, maybe even two before the end of the year, and then do the same next year. Three is pretty solid for me with my schedule and my
yeah,
responsibility, to my family. Four is awesome, but that's a lot,
yeah.
personally for me, just because of my schedule and, like I said, my responsibilities. But 3 to 4 per year is a good goal for me.
I know you're probably not going to think about too far ahead, but do you feel like you get this victory, you're 5-0, maybe try and get one in quickly, and then maybe see if you can get into that contender series?
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. I've talked about this with Alex, and Eric and I have talked about this. I think every guy wants to fight at the highest level, right?
Yeah,
And the contender series, making it to the UFC, that's the highest level. But I also recognize UFC as a really, really high level promotion.
you don't want to go there
So
too quickly.
exactly. So man, to answer that question, yes, right. A contender call, I think, is everybody's goal. Um, I am not fighting to make it into the contender series. I guess I'm
Yeah,
not fighting to make it into the UFC. That's not my main goal. My main goal is to challenge myself, to continue to sharpen the iron, so to speak. And then the UFC calls, then we'll talk when that time comes. I'm fighting because I feel like I said before, I feel like God's put me here for a reason. It challenges me, it grows me, it keeps me humble, it makes me a better man. And so, yeah, I mean, 5-0, right? It's a good, maybe 6-0, maybe 7-0 before I get a call. But transparently, Scott, if that call never comes, man, I'll be just as happy to fight for Fury because I
yeah.
love that organization so much.
And what did you make of Artem Vakitov? He went on that contender series, he got that UFC contract, and then he declined it due to the pay, and he's gone back to the kickboxing. When it does sound like the pay for the UFC contract was kind of agreed upon when he does sign the contender series, what did you make of that situation?
Man, honestly, I respect it. That's the thing is like you can't really question anybody's motives in the fight
Yeah,
game or anybody's thought process, right? I know we can sit back here and kind of armchair quarterback it a little bit, right? Oh, he should have done this. Oh, he should have done that. Why did he do this? What's the real reason behind it? Man, honestly, the fight game is such like an intimate and personal and um, emotional journey, that it's really hard to question guys' decisions. Transparently, when you first get in the UFC, the pay is not that great. It's not.
yeah,
I mean, let's just be honest, it's not that great. you're fighting for a great organization and an organization that is known for being the best in the business, right? And so that's part of what you're fighting for. But when you first land, you're not making a lot of money, and so um, I think that as somebody who would probably be in the same state of being like, man, that's not really that much money. I kind of understand why he did what he did.
Exactly. And it's kind of like with the GFL, everyone's kind of like picking on them for also their fights got cancelled today. But you also have to realize that these fighters, they still signed up for these fights. They were trying to get that last wee paycheck in. That is an opportunity that they've lost out on. So while we can just pick the fun on GFL for their business model and signing these fighters, these are fighters at the end of the day that have just lost out on that opportunity.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
But what did you make of like the GFL strategy in that?
I think it's really hard to navigate this business,
Yeah,
especially with the promotions that are out there. So I think guys are going to try to create strategies that are kind of outside the box to
yeah,
think how to go, right. So I mean, it's hard to fault somebody for trying to design something that they think is going to be successful and then it not be successful. I don't know. I don't know any of the guys over there. So it's hard for me to speak like specifically
yeah,
to the decisions that were made. But I know that this fight game and running a promotion is pretty difficult. Uh, and now it's almost like, man, it seems like there's a new promotion starting every month, that's trying to make it into the game. And so everybody's going to start coming up with strategies to try to, you know, um, get
be
fighters.
unique.
Yes, exactly. To be unique, right? And why would somebody come to fight for them over the next organization, right?
Yeah,
Everybody in that. So, um, I mean, I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I mean, sure, we could sit back and say, yeah, that was they didn't do it properly, but um, it's a hard game to be in.
and once you are specifically are in that UFC, is there any fight that you're wanting to happen? Like any
Oh
people that you're wanting to see, like a legend in the game that you're wanting to fight?
man, that's a good question. If you want me to be honest, I don't think I've even thought of it. I kind of live in like what's next.
Yeah,
I try to focus on what I'm doing right now. I mean, of course, I think that you know any guys UFC, if you're going to make it to the UFC, right, then the goal is to fight at the top, right? So um, whoever the top would be at that time would be who I want to fight. There's nobody that I'm like, ooh, I want to fight this guy. And transparently, I'm a terrible fan. I'm a fighter, but I'm a terrible UFC fan. So I mean, I know what's going on, and I know, you know, who's fighting, and I know what they're doing, but I don't get to follow because of my schedule and
yeah,
and husband and father. I don't really get to follow that closely. So I don't get real tied up in the fighters only because I just don't have the opportunity to follow it. I mean, sure. I mean, I would love to fight, the likes of Adesanya and Sean Strickland, right? Because those guys, kind
yeah,
of built in the UFC for my generation. So those are names that pop out, right? But um, who knows when that times would come? That division will look different than it even
yeah.
does. You know.
Well, if you're hearing that, Dana, after Sean gets that victory, set him up with Darius. Darius versus Sean at International Fight Week.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Well, thank you for coming on. That was great. Is there anyone you're wanting to shout out or anything else you're wanting to add?
Man, again, I mentioned earlier, but my wife, my kids are great. They love that dad fights. My coaches, Alex Morone and Matt Wald, training partners, all just such an integral part of my success. I think people they see the fighter, right? And they see the guy that
Yeah,
goes in the cage and they think it's a one-man sport. This is not a one-man sport. There's a whole team behind me. There's a whole team of
yeah,
fight team, but of supporters, friends, family, guys that have just like kind of watched me come through the ranks, and now they come to every single fight. So I'm so thankful for that. And then of course, I can't give shout outs without, thanking God for just the opportunity to fight, to have a healthy body, to have the skills to be, a dangerous man.
Thanks for coming on. That was great. Make sure you tune into the UFC Fight Pass to make sure you watch his fight. You'll be replacing that Fury amateur title soon with that UFC belt version in the coming years, and it will be a great fight to watch.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.